Today we're going to show you step by step how to build the cheapest RX 9060 XT gaming PC, and you'll have a chance to win it.
It features the Ryzen 5 5500, a budget CPU, and a modern higher-end GPU. Is that combo going to work well together? Well, we're going to test it and show you guys step by step how to build it after a word from today's sponsor.
Finally got done with my gaming PC build.
Dang, looks good. How much money did you spend on it?
Dude, I spent way too much in this build. I literally have no money left now.
Did you not save enough money for Windows 11 Pro? That's about $200.
What do you mean $200? I just get my keys from GVG Mall, today's sponsor. GVG Mall is our go-to place for purchasing Windows 11 CD keys.
GVG Mall always has great sales going on, which brings the price of these Windows keys extremely low. And paired with our discount code TB20, you can get Windows 11 key for as cheap as $24. That's a fraction of the cost from the official price.
It's super easy to get your Windows 11 CD key from GVG Mall too. Just add the key to your cart, use our discount code TB20, and boom, you saved a ton of money.
Once you got your Windows key, you need to head to the activation setting within Windows and paste your Windows key into the activation box, hit activate, and boom, you now have activated a legit copy of Windows 11 Pro.
And don't worry, it doesn't just stop at Windows 11 Pro. They also have previous versions of Windows, they have Office products, and they even have game keys.
Big thanks again to GVG Mall for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to it, shall we?
So this gaming PC right here is a within reason cheapest gaming PC because the 9060 XT is a Gen 5 by 16 card, so we're not going to put it inside of an old Optiplex or anything. This is a all new parts gaming PC that features about the lowest end CPU that I would pair with it, and it's going to be running in Gen 3. So that brings me to the total of this build being a tad under $800, and that's a really impressive price for the total build considering the graphics card is almost half of the budget for the 16 gig model.
And as we mentioned in today's video, we're going to show you guys step by step how to build this gaming PC, because you know what, this is a budget build that you all at home might want to follow along and build yourself. And after we talk about all the parts, stay tuned to later in today's video where we tell you guys how you can win this awesome gaming PC.
So to kick off this, of course, we got the Ryzen 5 5500. This is honestly like one of our favorite CPUs of all time because it's a 6-core 12 thread and it's so freaking cheap. It actually comes with a stock cooler. You can buy it on Amazon, Newegg. But at the time of filming this video due to Prime Day, you can actually pick this up for $66, which is pretty crazy. We might even see them drop more, who knows. But it's a pretty awesome CPU. The only limitation of it is that it's Gen 3. That means that if you have a Gen 4 NVMe SSD or if you have a graphics card that's modern, most modern graphics cards are Gen 4 or even Gen 5 like this one here, you're gonna lose a little bit of performance. Just how much, we'll find out. Now alternatively, if you want Gen 4 support, because this motherboard does actually have Gen 4 support, just get yourself something like a Ryzen 5600, 5600X, technically even a 3600 has Gen 4 support. Now coming in at $25, we got a pretty sleek cooler. This is the ID Cooling Frozn A410 SE, because this is gonna be a pretty sleek build. It's just sleek. I've said sleek like 8 times. I feel like Jonah is judging me behind the camera right now. That's a sleek cameraman behind the camera. Now we talked about Gen 4 support. This right here is the Gigabyte B550M. So this is a $90 motherboard that, I mean, it's pretty basic. You guys can't even see it based on the back here, but I'm gonna open it up real quick. See, this motherboard's pretty basic. I mean, it has an 8-pin for the CPU. It has 4 RAM slots, but it has like no VRM covers. It's probably lower power phase design, but it's very budget at $90. And with the 5500 inside of it, I'm not worried. And then one other thing to mention in case you slightly decide to change up this build guide, it doesn't have an ARGB header on it at all, so be prepared to buy an ARGB hub if you're going to add ARGB fans, but we don't gotta worry about that. Now, we paid $53 for our DDR4 RAM. This is 32 gigs dual channel of OLOy, it's 32 megahertz, it's CL16. It's pretty decent stuff. You can buy some name brand if you want, but we did get this for pretty cheap, so we're gonna give it a go. It's been a while since we've used OLOy, so it's time to go back to our roots. Now for $51, we have a KingSpec NVMe SSD. This is just a Gen 3 drive. You can spend literally $5 to $10 more and get a Gen 4, but once again, the CPU doesn't support it, so I didn't really see the need to spend that extra $3 to $5 because we're trying to make this as cheap as possible. Of course, we could have gone with like a 256 or a 512, but like I said, I want this build to be within reason and have a good upgrade path.
Now for the graphics card, we have the ASRock Challenger RX 9060 XT 16 gig. Now it's important that we got the 16 gig model because you know what? With the 16 gigs of VRAM, it allows us to fully saturate all the textures we need at 1440p, so I'm glad we opted for this card. Now it's gonna be very interesting to see with a Gen 5 GPU, how this performs with a Gen 3 CPU. Theoretically, it should scale pretty nicely with them both being by 16, Gen to where you get the full 16x bandwidth, even though it's at a slower Gen bandwidth. But I'm excited to see what this performs like. And again, as Jackson mentioned, if for whatever reason we have a lot of performance issues, the 5600 is also an option you can go with to maximize the performance. For 65 bucks, we got this ASRock Challenger power supply to match our GPU. It's just gonna work just great, guys. This is an A+ bronze 650 watt power supply, and yeah, solid power supply, all black cables, gonna do what we need to do for this PC build, and 650 watts is plenty to power this build with a few rooms for upgrade in the future. And lastly, one of our favorite budget cases right now, the Cooler Master Elite 301 Lite, which is a, well, nice micro ATX case. Sadly, at the time of recording this video, it is a bit more expensive than what we paid, which was $40. It's now around like 51 bucks, but either way, it's still a nice case. We got tempered glass, one pre-installed fan. We are gonna be adding some Thermalright C12C fans, which is a pack of 5 black fans, non-RGB. We're gonna put 3 up front, 2 up top, and leave that 1 in the back. For just a little under $800, it's gonna be a really fun experiment to see, does this GPU and CPU combo make sense? And also gonna be a good test for you guys at home to see, would you wanna upgrade your older system with maybe Gen 3 support to a 9060 XT 16 gig? We'll show you guys how to build this PC step by step and dive into the testing.
Alright guys, it has been a while, so hopefully I still remember how to build a gaming PC, but the first step is we got our motherboard out of the box, we got everything laid on the table, we have our Ryzen 5500 open. It does have pins on the CPU, so make sure you're real careful with those because you don't want to bend them accidentally. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take this latch, we're going to pop it up, just like that, and then there's going to be a little arrow, like a little gold arrow right here. You're going to line that up with the arrow on the board. And you're gonna kind of just like let it rest into place. It should fall into place like it just did there. If you have to give it a little push, that's fine. Sometimes the pins are just ever so slightly misaligned, but if you're having to like mash down a corner, you're probably bending pins. I would take it out and check them. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go into the RAM, but honestly, you could just do the cooler next, but just so that we can actually see the camera angles a little better, we're gonna be doing RAM. So what I'm doing is I'm opening slots. Technically it's 2 and 4. I always call them 1 and 3, but basically the furthest one from the CPU and then skip one. You always want to skip one because that's how you get your RAM to actually run in dual channel. The RAM can only go in one way, it's keyed. So that little tiny notch is offset. So you can't put the RAM in wrong. And when you push down on it, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt your soul because you're like, am I gonna break it? Just make sure you equal force, push straight down. If you have to do, so like if I had to take a stick of RAM and I had to do this, it's not in. Your PC's not gonna work. You should have to take it and actually use force. Ugh. Is this one? Nope. See, there you go. Yeah, I had to use a lot of force to do that. If you're having to push the latches up yourself, chances are your PC's not going to work. Now, of course, your RAM is volatile. So what we need is permanent storage. We got our KingSpec here. So this motherboard's pretty cool. It actually has a built-in NVMe holder, which needs to be turned around. Sometimes it's going to be a screw, which actually, look, KingSpec gave us a screw, which is kind of funny. They're tiny, but we don't need one in this case. So once again, it's keyed, just like your RAM. You can only put it in one way. So it's going to go in at an angle, just like that. You kind of notice on camera there, I believe. Kind of goes in at an angle. What you're going to do is you're going to line up that plastic clip, and you're going to push this down. So there you go. That's how you put in your NVMe. If it's a screw, you simply just screw it in very lightly. That's a very small screw, so it doesn't take much force. We have an almost finished motherboard, but we need to put our cooler on. It's going to be a couple more steps, so bear with me here. All right, guys, crucial step. Don't forget to remove this because we've done this before, and the worst part is you'll only know because your PC will probably randomly crash. So since we have a Ryzen platform, we're going to pull out our screw kit here. And AMD's pretty chill. I like that we don't have to replace the backplate or anything. It's gonna be the red ones. I only know that because I've done so many of these. So these little plastic pieces are what we call spacers or risers, and you're gonna take all those out along with the screws. I'm only putting them onto the board so you guys can see a little better. Obviously at home you can put them off to the side. We're gonna take off the stock brackets. So funny enough, even if you use the stock cooler, you still have to take these off. It's just an AMD thing. They've done this forever. There are some coolers that will use these little plastic mounts, but not many of them. So 4 screws, PH2 Phillips, light work, we got them out. So now we're gonna take each one of those spacers and we're just gonna put them over where we just removed those screws. Just little plastic spacers. They can go on either way. With AMD, it doesn't matter. Now next up, we're gonna take these metal brackets. So they're the ones that are bent. You don't have to worry because the Intel ones won't fit on here anyways. So you're gonna take those brackets. It's okay if they kind of flop around a little bit. Just get your screws started. Just like that. Let's go ahead and put the other one on. We're going to go for a typical equal pressure approach. That's how I like to do anything that involves screws. So we'll get these on. All right, now we're just gonna go through and tighten each one of these. So just go opposing corner. Doesn't really matter because this back plate's screwed into place, but it's just a good rule of thumb. Boom, all right. Now it is thermal paste time. So this stuff that's included is actually not bad. It's ID Cooling Frost X25. You can buy aftermarket thermal paste if you want, but I can almost guarantee you, you're only gonna knock off maybe 2 to 3 degrees Celsius because a lot of the cooling is done underneath the IHS. So basically, with there being thermal paste underneath this, it's not gonna make a massive difference if you have like the world's best thermal paste. So for thermal paste spread, I like to kind of do like a line, and then because you're closer to these corners, I like to add a couple extra dollops so that it kind of spreads. That's just me. Everyone does it differently. Some people just recommend the big P in the middle. Some people recommend spreading it around. I don't like to think too hard about it, honestly. Now for the cooler, it actually is offset. So you'll notice that this side's longer. That's the side that your fan's gonna go on. You want that side facing towards your RAM. And also if you look, the logo will be, you know, properly placed. If you do it upside down, your logo's gonna be upside down, and that's just not cool. So what you're gonna do is kind of just line up the screws. It's okay if it's not perfect. You know, the thermal paste can spread around a little bit. That's why we always put a little extra on there. Because, you know, too much thermal paste is, I would say, better than too little. So you're going to kind of go back and forth with these screws. Make sure you get both started. If you accidentally just screw one end down, you'll know. Because the cooler is going to be really bowed. And please stop screwing if that happens. Because you'll end up bending some pins or something if you do that. All right, and they both bottom out too, by the way. So you don't have to, like, over-torque the crap out of them. Just as soon as they stop spinning, you're good to go. So now we just got to put the fan on. So now we're getting ready to install the fan, but one thing I just wanted to show you guys in this motherboard is, interestingly enough, the CPU fan header is located down by the RAM/NVMe. Normally they're up top by the RAM. This is just something to note. So we're going to make sure that the fan orientation, the cable's in the best possible spot, which is just going to be straight down in this case. So now for the actual brackets, what we're going to be doing is you're going to clip them on like this. You can go ahead and put both sides on. They basically just kind of snugly fit into place. Nothing too serious there, so just like that, pretty simple. And what we're gonna do is make sure that cable's facing down. I like to really make sure that the top of the fan is nice and lined up with the top of the cooler, so it's a nice smooth transition. It just looks the best that way. And we're gonna take that cable, flip this around, so the cooler's on. You can see here it clips on like that. Pretty simple. We're gonna take the cable, the header, we're gonna plug it in, and then we're gonna take the cable. See, I'm skipping ahead. We're gonna take the cable and we're basically just gonna kind of shove the cable underneath the cooler here. It's gonna kind of go in like the heatsink area. That'll be the best way to kind of hide that extra cable. You can zip tie it if you want, but with this build not moving around a ton, I'm not really worried about the cable like coming out or anything. And just like that, you'll notice that we have no cable showing. So it looks pretty good. That's gonna be your full motherboard build. One thing I pointed out earlier is it does come with extra brackets. So if you want to add another fan to where you have like a dual fan design, you actually can. It's pretty cool they include this for you.
Okay guys, it's my turn. So what we're gonna be doing is installing the power supply and the fans. First, we're gonna start with the fans. The first thing I'm gonna do is this back fan. This is purely just a cosmetic thing, but most of the time when these case manufacturers install these fans, they have the cable like all the way down here. I'm assuming the idea is they would want you to plug it into the motherboard connector that's normally right here. We're not gonna be doing that. We wanna run it to the back of the case. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this fan so the cable is more up top, or it can be run where the CPU power is. You don't have to do this, but it'll make it a lot easier for you all to follow along at home if you do exactly what we're doing in the video. So I'm gonna unscrew these screws with a PH1, and from there, we'll be ready to install our 5-pack of fans, which will take a little bit, but I'll show you guys how to do the first one, and then you guys can just follow along and install the rest of them. And we're gonna go ahead and flip it like so, and then we will put this back in. Putting in the last screw, and as you guys can tell, here's where the cable is now. So the cable can nicely run up here to the cutout in the back. So that'll work out great. Now to prep the case, we're gonna go ahead and remove this mesh filter. We're gonna put this thing into the case box. And we're also going to remove this front panel, which comes off very easily if you just pull from the top. And now we have access to where all our fans can be installed. We're gonna be installing 3 up front and 2 up top because we have a 5-pack. Now you're gonna need these screws that come with the fans. These are basically fan screws, the best way to describe them. You're gonna want these, and then we're gonna have all our fans right here in a nice pile. And they're very simple because they only need a fan header to power them and you're good to go. Now they do daisy chain together, which will make things a lot easier for cable management, but just for the sake of the video, we'll do that during the cable management section. We're just gonna run all the cables to the back, and then Jackson can daisy chain them together when he gets everything plugged up. So very simple, but we're gonna start with the first first fan, and we're going to install it up front. All right, so we're gonna show you guys how to install a fan, and then from there, you basically copy that throughout the build. What we're going to do is we're gonna install the fan down here, which you wanna install it from the inside for this. Some cases are different, but for this one, you wanna install it from the inside, and then you're going to be screwing these 4 screws right here. So as you can see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's always best to start at the bottom and work your way up so they're evenly spaced, but at the end of it, we're gonna have a fan right there, we're gonna have one right here, and then we're gonna have one up here. There's our 3 fans. Then we're gonna make sure that we have our fans up top in exhaust mode, which it's probably important to tell you guys. If a fan is facing this way, where the front blades and the logo are facing you, it is exhausting air out the back. Installing these fans properly, we're going to want this side, what we call the ugly side, to be exhausting out the top. Very simple. So we're gonna install a fan right here, and we're also going to install a fan right here. So these 2 fans will be side by side, and after all of it, we'll have all these fans installed, and you want to make sure, and I think it goes without saying, that the front also is going to be intake, which means this nice logo is going to be facing outside the case, and air is going to be pulled into the case. So it's going to look like this. So I'm going to install the first fan, install all the fans, and then after we install all the fans, we'll be good to install the power supply. First screw. Cool, fan 1 down, 4 more to go. Okay guys, so we have all the fans installed. As you can see, we have our 3 fans right here, and we have our 2 fans up here. It is important to mention that again, we have 3 intake fans. So we have the logo facing out, so the airflow is going into the case. These are exhaust fans where the air is exhausting out the top. You see the logo right here, the air is going upwards. And then we have an exhaust fan right here. So we have a 3-in-3 setup, a perfectly balanced setup. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and put this panel back on so we don't forget about it, but boom, just like that, that panel is on, and we'll leave our mesh filter in the box. We'll worry about that later, it's not a big deal. But now it's time to install the power supply. All right guys, so we have the power supply out and ready to go. It comes with the power cord. You definitely want to keep this. Put it in your case box. It does come with 4 power supply screws, of course threaded screws, which we will show you guys right here what those look like. They have this nice little cap on it, kind of a little mushroom cap per se. But what we have right here is our power supply, which is a non-modular power supply, meaning all the cables you want are on here and you can't add any extra ones or get rid of them. Now I will say this is better than the Secotep we normally use because there's not a ton of unnecessary cables, but it has everything we do need for this PC build. So we're gonna install the power supply. What we need to do is we're going to have the fan side facing down inside the power supply basement. And I'm just gonna slide this power supply in so Jonah can see where you need to screw the power supply in. Is it lined up?
Yep.
Cool. As you guys can see, there's 4 screw holes and Jonah's gonna point at them. There's that one, and that one. And we're gonna use our same screwdriver we've been using throughout the video to screw in the power supply with those coarse threaded power supply screws. Sometimes for the first screw, it's a good idea to loosely screw it in so you can make sure you get all the other screws lined up the way they need to be. And the last screw tightened down, good to go. Boom, the power supply is in the build. Okay guys, it is now time to install the motherboard. We're gonna go ahead and get our case screws out, which normally it's in a box, but in this case, it's just in this little bag wrapped around all our front panel connectors. So we're gonna go and get our bag out, and now we have our screws. So there are the screws we're gonna be using. Put this off to the side because we're gonna lay our case down and we're going to install the motherboard, which, wait, there's one more thing we need to do. We need to put in IO shield. That is important because this doesn't have a built-in IO shield. Where is the IO shield? I'm assuming in the box. Now we have our motherboard here. I'm gonna move it out of the way for right now because we don't need it just yet, but we're going to install our IO shield, which goes right here. Now the rule of thumb I always tell people is the audio jacks, which are the circular jacks on the cutout, I'll show you guys what that looks like, always goes right here. Line it up like so. This is a very weird angle for me, but we're gonna push it in on all corners. And wow, that was the easiest IO shield install I've ever had in my life. So there you go, the IO shield is installed. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult, so don't be frustrated. You just need to be very patient in terms of pushing in all the corners, and once it's secure in there, you are good to plop in your motherboard. All right, so now we're gonna take our motherboard, holding it by the CPU cooler that you hopefully installed properly, and we're gonna go ahead and lay it down, line it up with the IO shield to make sure the IO fits nice and snug. Okay guys, well the beauty of this case and with this motherboard is all the standoffs are already installed, ready to go, so you don't need to add any other ones. We're gonna be screwing in here, 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 up by the CPU, over by the CPU as well, one right here, and I don't know if I said this one, but this one right here, and this middle one. So we're gonna be screwing all those in, and we do have the screws that came with our case, these right here. The one thing that's different about Cooler Master is they use coarse threaded screws for their cases. I can't say all of them do, but all the ones we've used in the past use coarse threaded screws, and normally they want you just to use the power supply screws, which makes it easier for you guys at home because you don't need to have fine thread versus coarse thread. You're just literally gonna use more of these power supply screws because they give you so many of them. So there it is, once again, a little mushroom head. Like I said before, we're gonna be using that to screw in the motherboard, and we're gonna go ahead and screw in all those screw points that I showed you guys before. Screw it in until you feel a little bit of tightness right there, and then you're good to go. And we're gonna keep going. Beautiful, just like that. All right, guys, our motherboard is now screwed in, looking nice and secure. This is the point where we plug up cables. Don't be scared, it's very simple. I'll have Jackson in here, we'll show you guys how to set everything up, and we're at the finish line to game on this PC.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite part of PC building, cable management and plugging them in. So, first up, we have the 24 pin. This is your most crucial power coming off the power supply. I'm gonna take that, and I'm gonna feed that right through here on the case.
As you can see, it's coming out right here. We're gonna make sure we add this +4 pin to the side, and we're gonna line up the clip with the clip on the motherboard. And we're gonna line it up, push it in like so, and boom, 24 pin is installed.
All right, we're gonna do the next, second most important next. This is our CPU 4+4 pin. Now, these do split in half because some motherboards only need like a 4 pin, some need more than just an 8 pin. So I'm gonna be giving Matt both of these. So we're gonna, make sure you got your cables out of the way. I like to kind of loosely cable manage as I go. So we're gonna be taking that and we're gonna put it right through the top here. Please don't run it across your motherboard like I know you want to do.
All right, it might be a little hard to see, but where that cable's coming out, right below it, is the connector to plug this thing in. We're gonna go ahead and put these cables together. They are a little difficult because it is the separated 4+4, and we need to plug it in an 8 pin, but with a little maneuvering and a little know-how, you can be just like me, ka-chow. And click, and you can push that back in there, and just like that, your CPU now has power. Congratulations.
And while we're on the power supply trend, we're not gonna plug it in yet, but we have a PCIe power. So it looks really similar to the CPU, but it'll actually say PCIe on it, and unlike the CPU where it's 4+4, these are actually called 6+2. So it's a 6+2, which makes an 8 pin as well. They're not interchangeable, so don't even try. So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically just preemptively running this through here. I kind of have a general idea on like how I like this build to look, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get that through.
And as you can see, the cable is there flopping around like a fish. It's ready to go for our GPU later on.
So now we're gonna start off with some of our case stuff. So we'll just go ahead and do the front panel first, which, wow, Cooler Master with a single front panel header. This is really cool. A lot of times these will be in pieces, by the way. You'll have to figure out a diagram, which is, by the way, universal, but this just plugs in, which is pretty sick. So we're gonna run that next to the PCIe we ran.
And yeah, normally that diagram is on screen with McAllister. Guess what? You don't need to show that diagram because we're just gonna plug it in to the far left row of pins where the missing pin lines up. So I'll just go ahead and line it up.
They usually say F panel on it.
Yep, and just like that, wow, look at that, front panel is good to go.
Now, while we're kind of down there, we're gonna talk about the HD audio. We're gonna show you how to plug it in. So HD audio is gonna look a lot like a USB 2, which funny enough, this case doesn't have, but it'll be missing a pin closer to like the middle. And it's also labeled HD audio, so I mean, you really can't mess it up, but that's always gonna be above the power supply.
Here comes the HD audio, and we're gonna go ahead and take it. It is on the far left, it's labeled F audio. Line up the missing pin with the missing pin on the motherboard. All right, we'll line it up, push it in, and boom, just like that, we have high definition audio.
Whoa. All right, one of the last things that we need to plug in before we get to our fans is a USB 3. So this cannot be mistaken. It's a gigantic header. It looks like that. It's usually going to be blue on the pins. That'll typically be right below the 24 pin, is it?
Not in this case. It's actually by the front panels.
Ah, okay. That one of two places, and I got it wrong. So we're going to put that where the front panel goes.
You can do it through this other side.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll actually do it through the power supply, Matt says.
There you go. And the USB 3.2/3 header is right there. Line up the clip, push it in. Boom, just like that, you're good to go. USB 3.
Oh, and I gotta give another shout out to Cooler Master because I forgot, their USB 3 also powers the USB-C. So if you don't have a USB-C there, which this board doesn't, right?
It does not.
It doesn't, so we don't have to worry about that. Awesome.
Beautiful.
All right, so now we're on to kind of like the fan step before we talk about actually getting our graphics card in. Once again, this case is just awesome, and well, the fan pack's actually awesome. It's Thermalright. We're just gonna start daisy chaining these fans together. So you can see that each one of these fans has a daisy chain, is what we call it, where it has an extra cable coming off of it. So this cable right here is the one you'd plug into the motherboard. This is one you plug into extra fans. So you can choose to, if you want to be able to control every single fan separately, you can plug in the fan separately, but we're not going to do all that because we're not that scientific with a cheap PC like this. So we're just going to daisy chain all of them and then run them to one fan header.
And also, we are limited to one fan header
Okay.
for the motherboard, so it's
Sick.
almost like we don't have a choice.
So yeah, this is pretty cool. We have all of our fans daisy chained into one fan header, which works out great because that's all our motherboard has. So I fed that through the power supply spot.
And we're going to take that fan header. It is right here next to the HD audio. We're going to line it up like so, push it in, and boom, we have the fan header installed.
Now the last thing I'm going to do before Matt puts in the graphics card, there's nothing left to plug in, so there's nothing crazy. I'm just going to take these extra cables and I'm just shoving them into the power supply basement. It's just a step I like to do to kind of make a little less headache for when we go to cable manage, but you do want to wait because Matt needs to put in the GPU before we start tying cables down. So let's go ahead and do that.
Okay guys, here's our graphics card and it is time to install it. Our beautiful Challenger card, which shout out to ASRock. They've done a good job over the years making the Challenger card not look ugly like the yellow one from back in the day. That one was a devious
5000
card.
series.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and remove this PCI slot cover first with our screwdriver. So we'll go ahead and unscrew this like so.
Just a PH2, by the way. Really the only thing you need a PH1 for this whole build for would be the M.2 if you had one.
And you know what? We need that. So we're gonna remove this cover. This cover will just go right back over when we're done, so make sure you don't lose it. Now we are going to do a little test with the graphics card to ensure that we break off the right break-off covers for the PCI slot because, well, they're removable and you can't, we'll put something else there. So it looks like it is going to be the top two. Now this is kind of old school, and why this case has a little bit of a budgetness to it is you have to push in, wiggle back and forth, and boom, they're gone. Same for the bottom one.
A little tip to be careful about that we've seen people do before is there is some components on the motherboard. Some cases, when you go to break those off, you may scrape capacitors, so just be careful.
The beauty is there's like nothing
Yeah,
on
it's
this
a basic board.
Budget boards be doing that. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that the PCI slot lock is disengaged, so push down like so. Then we're gonna take our graphics card, we're going to slot it into the topmost slot, make sure that it all lines up. Hold on top of your case, push like so. And then we're going to need some screws, which I don't have available to me currently. We're gonna need more of those coarse thread screws, which if you kept them out, unlike us, you're just going to install right here to screw in the graphics card.
We call these power supply screws. There's really only two screws you use. It's fine thread, which is typically motherboard and SSD, and then coarse thread, which is power supply. And is this case coarse thread actually?
I was going to say, lucky for them, it was one screw throughout everything. So
wow.
it was the same power supply screw that they gave, so you could just use the one screw for everything. And lastly, we're going to take that PCI power that Jackson fed through earlier. This only requires a single 8-pin. So we're going to go ahead and take that 8-pin, make sure that we have the +2 right here, because it's a 6+2. Gonna line it up like so, push in until you hear a click. Now we do have this extra little bit of cable right here that we will cable manage with a zip tie real quick. We'll just go ahead, we'll do 2 of them. So we're just gonna wrap this around like so. Little zip tie action, and then we're gonna do the same with the one down below. Again, this is part of the cable management step. So this is just to make things look a little bit cleaner. Just like that, just like that. And then we're gonna take some snips. And just like that, the build is technically done, but we need to do some cable management. Now, if you want to do a sanity check, you can turn this thing on and make sure it works. But for us, we know it's fine, so it's good to go. Jackson's gonna show you guys how the cable management to make this build look absolutely perfect. And then from there, we'll be ready to game.
All right, it's everyone's second favorite time, cable management. So this is kind of like an optional step, but in my eyes, it is not optional. You absolutely have to do it. So we showed you guys how to get really clean runs with the cables by making sure you're actually putting them through the proper slots. In some cases, you can even run things behind the motherboard. But what I'm doing here is I'm taking some zip ties. These are so cheap, you can buy them virtually anywhere. And I like to start off from the top and make my way down. Because the top is where we want the most cable management done. Now keep in mind, while you're doing the cable management, look up front every so often, because the last thing you want is for the front to be ugly. I mean, that's the part you're gonna see the most. So just because you have a really cable managed back area doesn't mean the front looks good. So once again, working our way down, just trying to make sure that we make as little runs as possible. Like for example here, I noticed that if I run these cables, you can actually see a lot of them. So I'm gonna make sure to go ahead and push some of these extra ones over. This fan cable here, I don't want to be running like right across the bottom of the case. So I'm actually gonna use the fan. There's actually a hole here. You guys can probably barely see this, but what I'm doing is I'm running a zip tie through the ear of the fan. And that's gonna make it to where it keeps these cables kind of like on the bottom, which you'll see in a minute once we turn this PC on, just how nice it's gonna look. I'm gonna go ahead and run one here as well, kind of clean that up, and then we're gonna work our way back up. That's pretty clean at the bottom. All right, let's go back up once again. And you don't have to use, there's spots, like there's tie downs. You don't have to use like every single one. You can even kind of make your own. Like there's SSD mounting here. I'm gonna do this. This will kind of keep it somewhat held down. Look at that. So we just use a spot that's not even meant for a cable tie, but we're not putting a 2.5-inch SSD in this. So we might as well use every spot that's given to us. You're gonna kind of pull on cables while you do this too. Makes everything nice and tight so you don't just have like random cables sticking out as you go. And then I always tell people towards the very bottom, I start to kind of not go as hard in the cable management, because in case you ever need to do future upgrades, you need to do troubleshooting, you name it, it's nice to not have the power supply basement area like really hardcore managed, because there's just really no point. It just makes things harder later on. So now we're gonna take our flush cuts. You can use scissors, a knife, whatever. These are great though. They only cost about maybe $4 a pair, if that. You can get them from Harbor Freight, Walmart, Amazon, whatever. We're just gonna snip each one of these. Being careful not to cut a cable. I've done that before, and unless you wanna learn how to solder, don't cut a cable. That is pretty darn clean for the amount of fans and stuff we have in that build. So I'm happy with this. I'm gonna go ahead and slap the back panel on, and then we're gonna make sure this turns on.
All right guys, it's time to turn it on and make sure it worked. Oh! Look at that.
Very clean. Oh, look, we got some subtle RGB on the graphics card, but you can turn that off too, so this is pretty good.
All right, let's install some games. Now that you built this at home, you can see how this performs, and yeah, let's see what this performance is like with the 5500 and the 9060 XT 16 gig.
We're testing Warzone. I don't even know what settings we're running. Probably 1440p. Let's just guess. Let's play a setting roulette. So 1440p, and we are running balanced FSR3 set to balance. So pretty respectable settings to run in Warzone, and we're getting 80 to 100 FPS.
Yeah, not too bad. Some upscaling to help us out here a little bit, but yeah, no 1440p. I mean, when you're getting a 9060 XT 16 gig, you're going to be gaming at 1440p for a majority of games. There are some that may not run well, but this is definitely one of them that I would play 1440.
Yeah, you can also really tell that the new Call of Duty is about to come out, because I have a Triceratops in my team, I have Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, that's how you know like they're running out of ideas, basically, is what I'm getting at. I feel like Fortnite, it fits in this. Like it looks like the characters from Fortnite, like the way the cartoons
They've
designed.
just transferred universes. Hey.
Look how big what's the hitbox on that, John? Why does it weird?
That's a big ass head.
Yeah, and this next time, if I die, I'm gonna change some settings around just to see if we can get more FPS, because I'm curious, because I think most people would want more than this.
Yeah.
What the Sigma? Little team.
Nice try, buddy.
I think I was really hoping he'd round the ammo. Remember what I said, don't let me forget? I'm not gonna forget.
Because you just said it.
Yes. So let's try back, let's do basic just for fun, and we're gonna really make it. We're gonna go crazy. I'm just gonna see what happens here. I feel like we have a lot of GPU though, so I mean, this might be bad, honestly.
Theoretically, I was going to say, if this doesn't help, it's definitely a CPU bottleneck then.
Yeah, it might just be worth just running higher settings in games, because this GPU is a really good GPU.
Okay, it's better here. It's about 100 plus, but we'll see when you land if it maintains that.
Maybe Spectate has like a frame cap almost.
Yeah, it's still 80s and 90s.
Yeah, so surprisingly going lower settings doesn't help. I mean, it just goes to show that, the 5500s, this is about the ceiling. I wouldn't really go any better for 5500, but it is crazy though. All in, we're, under $800, a little under? And you're playing 1440p with respectable frame rates at the end of the day, with like good upgrade path and headroom. Stop.
Oh! Hey!
Oh. Look at these guys just sitting still, like they have no clue I'm shooting at them. Dude, what are these guys? Like, what? Do they just have no respect for me? Don't worry, somebody, I'll help you out here.
You get killed by Goon. You killed Goon Squad. Oh,
No! How do I keep dying around the corner? Well, I die here, so that's, the benchmark dies with me. So, I mean, yeah, Warzone AAA title ran pretty good. It seems like going lower on 1440p just does, you might as well just run higher settings because it looks better and you're still gonna get like 100 FPS.
Looks good. Okay guys, this overlay might look a little complicated, but I will explain here in just a minute why I have it like this. So here are the following settings you can kind of see on screen here. So we're currently running 1440p in Spider-Man 2 with no upscaling on the high preset with no ray tracing. Now what I wanted to do is test a theory, because based on the last benchmark we ran, we were noticing that we think there was a CPU bottleneck, but how we were showing the usage of the CPU, with it just being the overall usage, we couldn't tell if there was a specific core that was being maxed out or if there was just some other bottleneck happening in the system. And as you can see right here, we can see each individual core and the FPS we're getting, which we're getting about 40 FPS, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not seeing an individual core on this CPU that is holding things back. So what makes me think is the CPU itself, the 5500, could have a little more headroom, but we might be getting limited again by the Gen 3 limitation versus PCI Gen 5. It is a pretty decent jump, and again, our CPU in general is not helping us because again, we're running native settings, no upscaling, so our GPU should be maxed out at 100%. But we're not really getting there. So let's see if we do some upscaling, if this will help, because again, we're getting about like 40 to 50 FPS at 1440p, which for an $800 PC in this game is not bad. It's kind of what you would expect. But what if we actually have a bit of upscaling? So run a little FSR, no, let's not run AA, let's run FSR3, set to performance with no frame gen. Let's just see if that makes a difference here. Now things do look a little worse, I will say. 1440p, our CPU is not completely maxed out right now, but we are getting closer to that 60 FPS average, but we're still getting the hard dips here and there. Again, I think Spider-Man 2 is a very, very difficult game, and it's one of those games where out of all the games that we are testing, is gonna be incredibly CPU bound no matter what we do. So as you guys can see, you're gonna want a high-end CPU. Even our test bench with the 7700X in this game tends to struggle even with these GPUs. So, you know, it's one of those things where if you're primarily playing Spider-Man, your money might be better spent on a better CPU. But if you're playing other games like you've seen in the other benchmarks we will run, you could get away with doing this configuration yourself and it's not that bad. Or go with the 5600 and potentially get even more performance. Oh, I need to chase that car and I've already messed it up. Let's get this car real quick. Oh, it went that way. Wow, good job, Matt. Let's go. Easy peasy. Good stuff. Would I say this is the best pairing in the world? Not really the best pairing in the world. Is it something you can make do and have an upgrade path in the future to something like a 5600? Yeah, potentially that would work out pretty well, but in more CPU demanding games like this, you will see the bottleneck. The CPU is gonna be a problem, but it is cool that we're able to make this work. Let's go ahead and run some built-in benchmarks, talk about those numbers during the outro, and yeah, come to a conclusion about this PC and how you have a chance to win this computer, because regardless of its issues or not, I mean, if you got this PC for free, I don't think any of you are gonna complain about it. Let's talk about that during the outro.
We just got done benchmarking this pretty awesome price to performance gaming PC and the 9660 16 gig. I mean, what else can we say besides it is a great price to performance card that is great for entry level 1440p and esports and even AAA titles. And on top of that, even with the 5500 at that like $66 price point, it's pretty darn good. Now, you're losing a little bit of performance with it being in Gen 3 because we're like, I mean, we're 2 generations apart, but it doesn't seem like it's enough to really be super worried about.
And we decided to test this PC in some other titles and got the following results. We tested CS2 1440p low settings and ended up with an average of 226 FPS with 1% low of 103.9. We also ran Black Myth Wukong's benchmark tool, 1440p medium settings with FSR enabled, got an average of 82 FPS, a max of 104 and a minimum of 18. And we also launched Claire Obscure Expedition 33 on high settings with TSR set to medium. We got around a 60 FPS average with a few stutters here and there.
And for 30 mark time spot, we got a score of 13,685, which is a 6 cents per point score. That's a pretty good high score and a good low cents per point. So this definitely has a toaster seal of approval, and it's full of fans too. Like, it actually looks good. This is a super sleek, minimalistic build that has a good upgrade path. We didn't have to spend too much to get into it, and I'm pretty happy with it.
On July 11th, over on twitch.tv/ToastyBros, we're doing our monthly giveaway stream where we give away this gaming PC, and we will be sending a sub goal to give away the Z-Box. If you guys have been following the channel, we've been doing a couple of videos on the Z-Box, this little 1070 mini gaming PC. When we hit a sub goal, we'll give this away on top of the gaming PC. So be sure to follow the stream over on twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time all the way to 5 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be streaming, having some fun, and it's a good time, and you have a chance to win some cool PC parts.
And on top of that, if you don't win either one of these, we actually do a giveaway every single month. It's typically the second Friday of the month, where PC Bros is nice enough to help get us a gaming PC to give away, and we run a discount code at PC Bros. It's Toasty 6 hour. You save 6%. I had to find the sign there. That's actually like the biggest percentage we normally ever do, but it's only during the giveaway stream. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Buy the parts for this PC in the description down below. See you guys later. Goodbye.
Affiliate links.
Affiliate links. They're affiliate links.
Whew, that gets my adrenaline going. Just like PCBros.tech, where you can buy a gaming PC. Like we said, if you go during the giveaway streams, you save 6%, and that goes for merch too. We got mouse pads, we got shirts, we got underwear, banana hammocks. Oh, Jonah wants me to I thought he was telling me to hurry up. I'm like, damn, okay, I'll go faster.
I'm trying to get him to spin around so we can see the whole merchandise collection over at PCBros.tech. Use code ToastyBros on checkout. You'll save 3% on your next purchase. And I promise you guys, we don't stick our fingers in all the fans. See you guys later. Goodbye.